The list of embedded-specific security issues is quite large, on top of things that people normally consider for enterprise security. Here are some examples. One issue is that resources are really scarce, so doing heavy-duty cryptographic algorithms might not be feasible because the CPU is not fast enough to do it in a reasonable time, there's not enough memory, or the battery power is so limited that you simply cannot afford to use a lot of heavy-duty encryption. One way to address this is to use a smart card or other dedicated hardware to manage the keys in cryptography to not only make the computations more efficient, but also provide some tamper resistance for the key storage. Embedded networks are generally insecure. Most embedded network protocols were designed in an era where security just was not an issue because it was assumed the embedded system would be isolated from the internet, or the protocol was designed before there even was really an internet. They typically have short network messages for efficiency, no built-in security, and retrofitting security is not straightforward. There are power, memory, and CPU constraints that really make things difficult. Nonetheless, you'll still have to use the embedded network, so you need to think hard about how you plan to address those vulnerabilities. For battery-powered embedded systems, power drain attacks can be a concern. An attacker might send network messages at your system not to break in, but simply to deplete the battery power used to receive and process the messages as a denial-of-service attack. You might ask, why would someone want to do this? Well, if the device is a security device that runs a security camera or otherwise monitors things, a power drain attack would take it offline, removing the security feature provided by that device. There are also real-time operation attacks possible. If you overload a system, it might start missing real-time scheduling deadlines because it was never designed to handle that amount of load. You might have a system for which alteration of the design causes a problem. Consider, for example, a car in which someone might intentionally modify the software to improve performance at the expense of defeating emission devices. If you're a car manufacturer and you're being held accountable for meeting emission criteria, that could be a problem for you. Embedded system makers may be in a position in which they need to do some combination of deterring alterations to their system or being able to detect and prove that their system was altered if an alteration violates something required by law or makes the system unsafe. Keep in mind that an owner might have extremely good access to the system, so simply saying we won't let them does not work. Finally, you need to make sure that updates are authentic and are actually installed. You might need to ensure that only certified configurations will run, so that if a user updates only part of the system or puts in an unauthorized update, the system will no longer run. If your safety argument depends on ensuring the system is updated anytime there's a security issue or a vulnerability discovered that needs to be fixed for safety, you might need to ensure that the updates are installed, but your system might not be continually connected. So you need to consider what to do with systems that have intermittent internet connectivity. And as part of that, you have to make sure that an attempted update when the internet is not available does not fail and cause the system to become bricked or not useful to the user. Occasionally, one hears of someone with a connected vehicle that receives or attempts a software update, but they're in an area with poor internet connectivity, so they end up with a disabled vehicle, and sometimes that's out in the middle of nowhere, where it's actually a threat to their health because they're in the middle of the desert and their vehicle no longer drives.